oh, I'm just like some Tikka or Sacco dude or something. No, man, I had customs from every gun shop that you could name 15 years ago. It was all Remingtons. I thought the Tikka was like a cheap junk rifle. We were going to do this event where I had to have a 7.62. I'd have to have a 308. I just didn't have a rifle, but I had this other Tikka, that Woodstock Master Sporter, in a 308 barrel. Or I had the barrel so they could spin it on real fast. What ended up coming out is like all of my nonsense went away. Like the gun, I didn't have trigger failures. I didn't have the gun malfunctioning, no bolt binding. That kind of started it. I'm like, well, this gun's awesome. And then I got another one just because it was like, well, I'll give it a try. Quickly, what I found out is like, and I didn't understand at the time, was I would just buy a Tikka and I wouldn't have to screw with load dev. The gun just shoots.
Welcome to the Shoot to Hunt podcast. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Avery. And my color commentator today is Jake Mushaney. Are you ready?
I've been ready since 9 a.m., sir. How fat is your ass today?
I knew that was coming, and I'm embarrassed.
You know, because you never want to say it can never happen. I mean, you know, the chances of getting violently murdered by a bunny are low, but never zero.
We're bringing up some straight bullshit. Dude, if this ain't hunting clothes, my wife buys it for me.
But your wife bought that color for you?
I just said, give me some Crocs.
She's just way too comfortable with your gayness then.
Gosh, I got a really long tongue. She's good. We fucking
Good Lord. You know, I was sitting back right now, I was thinking to myself, it's only been what, like 6 months?
Yeah.
But it's already been like kind of a somewhat wild 6 months to me, because when you never did anything like this in your life, you know, we've got to talk to a lot of different people, and you just hear the little quotes, and it kind of brings back memories of this and that, and even back to when I was falling asleep when we were with, Forum last time.
Yes.
But it's kind of cool to think back. Imagine, a few years from now.
Well, that's the thing.
It'd be pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I like the YouTube videos, and this is you don't leave a legacy, I shouldn't say, but you leave when you're dead. People can still listen to your stupid ass.
No shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a question of the day from the Rock Slide.
You getting any of them voicemail thingies yet?
I got one that was weird, and I don't think probably an older gentleman.
Oh, didn't know what he was doing.
It was like the last part. I'll send it to you. The last part of it recorded. So I got one. We're on SpeakPipe, so you can go to the website. You scroll down to the right-hand column. It's Jake. You did it. It's pretty freaking simple.
I did a test. You literally just it uses as long as if you do it from your phone, it works great because it needs a microphone. But Form's gonna do one of those at some point just to fuck with us a little bit.
Yeah,
set some shit in. We're gonna play it.
Yeah.
You're fucking.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the way.
That's nice.
Good Lord.
Oh. Anyways, you can go there. You can leave his recording. If it's not stupid.
We might play it.
There's no stupid people. There's just lots of dumb people, I guess.
There's no stupid questions.
Only stupid people or dumb people. Anyways, you can go there and leave it. And if it's relevant to what we're doing, we will play it. And if we play it, we'll send you a shirt. How about that?
Hey.
I got question from Rockside. And I never really thought about this, but I see the reasons why it probably won't work. But I got two guys that shoot a lot and reload. And here we go. This guy's asking, so the title is 6UM/PRC. And he says, private message to me, he says, simply put, can a 6.5 PRC case be used instead of a 6.5 SOM case? For firefarming and shooting, make it into a 6UM.
Yes, but bottom line is you get more brass movement initially, which decreases brass life over time. So that initial punch, it'll definitely go. That initial punch though, because it's a rebated rim, case body taper is real wide compared to a PRC is, has a lot more angle to it. But basically, yes, but you're gonna lose some brass life.
We're talking like 1 shot, 10 shots, 3 shots?
I can put a fucking number. I mean, at this point, 6UM is so fucking hot. You're not getting many firings out of the brass anyway. Is it really going to make a difference in the long run? Well,
I don't know. Well, now we got to fucking try it.
But the answer is yes, you can do it.
They are close.
Yeah. Brass is very soft. It's very
You can do all kinds of stuff with
You
it.
can
if you're
grab
willing.
the fucking
Neck of your 6.5 PRC brass and just pinch it in your fingers. It ain't nearly as hard as you think it is. So that 60,000 psi you're about to blow through it, it makes quick work of pushing that to all the limits inside the chamber.
It's so soft that Jake gets one firing at his 300 rum.
Yeah. well, we're actually it dropped from 3,100 feet per second on new brass to 3,000 feet per second on first time reloaded brass. It's because we didn't have any 300 rum ADG, so Jess reloaded those for me, and we were just shooting those at the range there, fucking all the way down to 3,000 feet per second. So you're gonna have to load me up. They would just got some new brass.
So you're running like 80,000 psi, give or
dude.
take.
Well, the fucking bad action can take it.
No.
We
So-
do not recommend this on
Don't
just
do
any
this.
action.
So now what you need is to get the SIG hybrid brass that's got the steel base.
Oh, man.
Then you could run 120K PSI.
I know that bat can take it.
Yeah.
They tested up to some crazy.
Yeah. Well, it
Crazy
wouldn't matter
high
because
pressure.
like what gives on the actions, right, is the base is the web giving out, right?
Yeah.
The case head?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't happen with the metal based SIG.
Then you get then the bat has the 1 1/8 tenon thread, so you get that extra meat, all the way around.
yeah.
So that's what holds the extra pressure on the bat is the extra wide tenon threads there. More meat around the chamber.
You said meat.
Meat. But yes, so you can. Of course, head stamp doesn't match either way that you do it, whether it's 6.5 SOM improved or 6.5 PRC / 6.5 SOM improved.
Is this 6.5 some 35 degrees, 30 degrees?
I don't know. I know it ends up at 40 after we improve it.
One shot will all be 40.
Yeah.
That's a good question, actually.
I
Not a lot
never
of
thought
guys
about
think
it.
about that, yeah.
All right. Formaldi Espinilio.
The what?
I got a question for you.
Oh my God.
This
We had a
pertains-
lot of good we just released one with him, right?
Yep.
And it's the most downloaded podcast to date.
in a 24-hour period.
Just let his head get. I'm trying to boost
Not
him up here.
by 3 times.
3 times as much in the first 24 hours.
Yeah. Because they thought it was Macho Man Randy Savage.
I'm
the cream of the crop.
I did tell you that I don't really listen to podcasts, but that's one that I'll go back and listen to it.
Like I already pretty much knew the spill on this one, but I have listened to the one we have coming out soon. Here's a little
Trailer, or I guess, what do you call it? A
Preview.
preview or a,
what are we calling the videos? Mine's not working. It's
Hype
late in the
reel.
day. A hype reel. We have match bullets coming out, and damn, there's a lot of good info.
Oh
in there.
yeah. That was a good one.
We have Macho Man back for another one.
That's really the one I want to listen to. What was the last one that just came out about?
dropping scopes.
Oh, I don't want to listen to that shit.
This one, the one with the match bullets was good. A lot of good
Yes.
stuff.
All the terminology, the permanent wound channel and the temporary and all that good shit. That's what I want to.
I think it's all made up.
Yeah.
Well, being that
Dead is dead.
Ain't that the truth?
That's
not necessarily true. Because you can have dead right there or within sight, or you can have dead over the hill a mile. Not the same dead.
This is true.
Since Jake's here, Unknown Munitions cut his teeth on reloading bullets. You posted up a thread.
Oh,
sweet baby
shit.
Jesus.
You're bringing me into something with him?
No, it's not. It's
Oh,
just
no.
he has you already know where I'm going. He posted up painless. What is it called? Painless reloading or painless
Low dev or
low
something
dev.
like that.
And I want you to go over your. See, we can do this quick. This is an easy one. Painless load dev. That thread has like 25 pages now. 20 pages somewhere.
Is that
in
the
there.
title of the thread? Painless
Painless load dev.
Who
And
started
he's
the thread? Okay.
form? But he has your, like he says in there, he started with your ammo and he would have quit. But for the article or for the review, he just kept going.
Okay.
So I thought it was relevant to everybody here.
Okay.
I'm just like a fucking genius.
Well, I tell you what,
Let's hear it.
Ryan's just trying to make arguments happen left and right.
No, it's not. I think Jake truly believes what you put down in there. They just tweak it a little bit.
Yeah. So, all right. So the only thing I care about is in this context is hitting animals, right? Lethal hits. I do not find pleasure in load dev. I do not find pleasure in playing with loads, seating, like none of it. So, what 20 years of shooting and blasting showed me with all of that is once I started shooting significant shot group sizes, so 10 plus rounds, Minute changes in load do not have drastic effects on the precision of the gun, right? So if I shoot 3-round groups, I can, and the gun averages 1 MOA, and you guys did the podcast with Horney, same thing. So, and it averages 1 MOA. I can have a 3-round group as small as sub half minute to 1.5 minutes, almost 2 minutes, right? So there's huge variability in any 3-round group subset. Shooting the exact same load. Well, if I go to a 30-round group, I'm not saying you should shoot 30 rounds, but if I go to a 30-round group, the variability between 30-round groups is like 1.5 to 1 point. It's like if the average is 1 minute for 30 rounds, I'll shoot some 0.9 inch groups and some 1.1 inch groups. So the variability in total percentage is way smaller. So I get a much more precise view of what that load's doing. So you do your common load dev, which is like, oh, I start 5 grains under max or whatever by the book, and I get the bullet at 10 thousandths into the lands or 10 thousandths off of the lands. And I do a powder charge weight test, and I go up by 0.2 of a grain or 1/10 of a grain per charge, and I shoot a 3-shot group at 45, a 3-shot group at 45.2, a 3-shot group at 45.4, all the way up. And then I look at the best 3-shot group and I go, oh, 45.4 was the best. You know, my worst one, 45, was 1.5 minutes, 45.4 was 0.4. And I go, that's the best one.
You could actually preface that a little bit because most guys' powder scale is not even capable of accurately measuring to the 10th of a grain.
That's correct.
That fucks it all up.
Well, all of it comes in.
Yeah.
So one of the big things, anybody that's like listened or read, is I do not believe in in accounting or adjusting, like introducing something that I can't adjust out. In other words, 1/10 of a grain can't matter on load dev if I can't, my scale can't even read it. And if you think your RCBS, charge master, whatever's reading 1/10 of a grain, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then the second part to that is it doesn't even matter. So, when in reality, we do that ladder test, right, in powder, and then they do a seating depth test, and they go. And it's like, okay, so we pick this charge weight and this seating depth, and it shoots the best, and we think we have a sub-half MOA all day long rifle. Here's the thing. If you take that exact ladder test again, and I'm speaking in generalities, like I've yet to see a gun that doesn't follow this. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying dozens of rifles a year. This is true. If I run that exact same ladder test again, the best load will be a different combination. If I do it again, the best load will be a different combination. I can run it 5 times. I'll have 5 different combinations that show to be the best. The reason why is because we're just not shooting enough to get good data that shows us a margin of error that's small enough to see it. So once I realize that, then you kind of get fatalistic and go like, well, what's the point? Because if I can't see if I have to shoot 100 rounds to see the difference between a true 0.7 gun and a true 1 minute gun, which is it's probably about what it would take, dude, my barrel's shot out. I mean, I figured this out when I was shooting 300 Win Mags and 300 Rums a lot, 300 Normas.
Anymore now with building rifles, we find that I know you know too. You can go out with the first 10 rounds down a barrel, and I can almost tell you if it's a hammer or not.
100%.
It almost doesn't matter what the
Absolutely.
fucking load is because we just took Jess 6.5 Salmon Proof plus P, and we have some 156 4831 shortcut just fire forming loads. And the first, after the first, I'll call it a cleaner round, whatever you want to call it. Shots 2, 3, and 4 were below 0.4 inches, and that wasn't even me trying to be super steady. Brand new rifle, whatever. And yes, it's not a 30-shot group, but
Being able to put those,
3, touching each other, it's not by accident.
Yep.
It can't, for all intents and purposes, it's not an accident.
Yeah.
And then you go on and we're fire forming brass, and then I give it to her, and she prints the same group, shots 6, 7, and 8, whatever.
Yeah.
And you kind of know at that point, it's not really about load development. It's about that it's chambered well. It's a good barrel. It's more than likely going to shoot almost anything that you put through. It's going to shoot well.
That's very, and that's what it come out to is. I think maybe this stuff matters with some of the older cartridges.
It matters when you're trying to get a barrel that's not meant to shoot well right off the bat. When you're trying to fix a fucked up barrel, it requires in-depth load development. When you have a hammer of a barrel and a straight chamber and everything lines up and everything's singing, it almost doesn't matter what you throw down. Like you have a 6 Creedmoor, it almost doesn't matter what the fuck you put in there. It's going to shoot well.
Just talking to him, it's like over, what I say, like 2,000 rounds, and I keep
Usually
saying
somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000.
it's going to shit the bed, but man, it just keeps.
And it's almost
on
anything, too.
hammering.
It
It could be our
Hold
ammo,
on.
it
How
could be
many times
factory
did you
ammo.
clean that thing, Ryan?
Never. I literally took. This is the one we took over and shot in the shooting.
Yeah.
I took it off, and I was just asking if this is normal, and we shot 400 and something rounds through it, and I shook it, and I would say about a thumb width carbon block fell out of the fucking can. And then it was on the end of the can, or the end of the barrel, and by the crown,
Looks
there's
like a volcano.
like a volcano, and on the
man.
front, like a cornice on the top of a hill. When I looked at the front cap, I'm like, damn, and it just kept on hammering.
I don't know. I keep being told that like if you don't clean a suppressor every 50 to so rounds, it'll make the gun not work.
It's going to blow up.
Yeah, it's going to blow up.
That-
Got to clean the barrels.
That can probably has 1,200 rounds on it total.
That's a good day.
But I keep hearing these 6.5 or 6 Creedmoors. That's a good day. These 6 Creedmoors, they only go like 1,500 rounds. This thing is, I don't know. It's over 2,000 easy.
Still shooting. She shoots good.
You can't take a barrel that was some factory box ammo shot a 2-inch 10-shot group, right? And you can load develop some of that away.
Oh,
It's
you
not
can.
just a true 2-inch cone of fire. No matter what you do,
No,
you
absolutely.
can get some of that out of there.
So so what it comes out to is like what resulted was the thing that actually, it's funny, right? Because you can read and listen and think like, oh, I'm just like some Tikka or Sako dude or something. No, man, I had customs from every gun shop that you could name 15 years ago. It was all Remingtons. I thought the Tikka was like a cheap junk rifle. We were going to do this event where I had to have a 7.62. I'd have to have a 308. I just didn't have a rifle, but I had this other Tikka, that Woodstock Master Sporter, in a 308 barrel. Or I had the barrel so they could spin it on real fast. What ended up coming out is like all of my nonsense went away. Like the gun, I didn't have trigger failures. I didn't have the gun malfunctioning, no bolt binding. That kind of started it. I'm like, well, this gun's awesome. And then I got another one just because it was like, well, I'll give it a try. Quickly, what I found out is like, and I didn't understand at the time, was I would just buy a Tikka and I wouldn't have to screw with load dev. The gun just shoots. Like I could just throw any decent load in them and they would shoot. Before that, I'd get
Reasonably accurate, not fucking quarter-inch all day.
no.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking like 10 to 20 round groups of like. So if you got a half-inch gun, a half MOA gun, you're like, my gun is a half MOA for 3-round groups if I do my part. It's always if I do my part. If you shot that gun for 30 rounds in a machine, it's probably a 2 MOA gun. Like that's what reality. It's like 3.2 times your good 3-shot groups, or your, I don't want to say your best, but kind of the ones you want to talk about. That's the real precision of the gun at bare minimum, at best, right? So I started doing it. Well, then you figure out like good barrels screwed on tight and straight, chambered correctly, in a embedded or correctly fitted to a stock. They just shoot. They're not picky at all. You know, the last gun, like I got that pre-64 Model 70, 270. That thing is, I want to throw. I mean, I love the gun, but it annoys me. It doesn't want to shoot. It'll shoot good some days, not shoot good the other days. It'll shoot this one bullet at this one speed, but it's not the bullet I want. And it's not even a bullet that's suitable for what I want it to do, right? And it just reminds me of like what a picky, finicky gun is. So you take your gun that was 2 MOA and you're trying to get it down to 1-ish MOA. Let's back up to kind of make this to your question. So I get a gun. I'm going to shoot. So first thing I do, make sure there's nothing obstructing the bore. If I'm loading for it, I pick the bullet, the powder. And that's just what bullet do I really want to use? What powder generally works with the cartridge, right? Oh, I'm shooting a 300 Win Mag, H1000. Stop being silly, right? You're shooting a 6.5 Creedmoor, H4350. A 308. Shoot bargain, right? There's these powders you just know are going to work, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the one I started the thread with was a 6XC. I've never loaded for a 6XC. When we had that gun spun up, you sent me a box of ammo. I think the 10-round group was like sub 1 inch. sub 1 MOA.
It's at 0.7.
Yeah, it was fine. Like, had it just been for that, and that was the bullet, I would have been totally okay with the bullet, but we were trying to see what the DTAX would do. I would have stopped right
Those
there.
probably 105 hybrids
Burgers.
and Varget.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Shot fine. But we needed to shoot the DTAX.
Before you go on with that,
How far, once you got that, because you said you validated it, how far would you hunt with that? How far would you shoot hunting with that?
just that
With
load you got real quick. Yeah.
That 105 burger.
Yep. Just with the 0.7 group, you said you validated
Oh,
it.
we're going to run out of terminal velocity. There's no precision problem.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Bullet
I think
performance.
The bullet performance is what's going to limit.
But I'm saying
think
how
that-
quickly you came to that conclusion that gun was going to shoot that stuff
shit.
So
at distance.
I think I've stated my load dev process, quote unquote, is somewhere between 19 and 25 shots. I am done and zeroed and trued out to 1100 with most guns, from start to finish. Like, it's not 30 rounds. So, like that gun, I needed to shoot 105 or 115 DTAX. I couldn't find the powder I wanted to use, which was Reloader 23, but I found what is it? 4461 IMR, not 4461.
4416.
No, it's one of their Endurons.
Oh, it's 4451.
And there's another one.
4116.
4166.
Yep,
4166. So the burn rate looked good.
we got there.
Sorry, yeah, I can't. Man, so you guys can see how much I care
It's
about
because they
this
don't make
nonsense.
those no more, so
That's
they're
right.
not fresh on my.
So IMR 4166 showed up good in 243 Win and 6.5 Creedmoor. Well, 6XE slightly smaller. I'm not telling anybody to do this. I couldn't find any data on it, but it looked good in those. Well, I looked at the percentage of difference, like the grain difference between a 6 Creedmoor on average with the same bullet, with powders that I could find in a 6XC, and saw that they were 3/4 of a grain different, basically. So I went. I think I went actually like 2 grains under what I thought max would be. So first off, I poured the powder. I seated the bullet long, colored the bullet with a Sharpie, put it into the chamber. Right, then you see the lands are marked on it. Seated the bullet deeper. I kept doing that until I no longer had any contact. I don't care how far it is from the lands. As soon as I know, I just write on the box, this is my max overall length with this bullet. And no, I'm not using a comparator. I'm just using overall length, right? Because I'm not trying to be, 9 thousandths away from the freaking lands and grooves, because that's going to change as I shoot the gun anyways. So with that one, as long as I know the max, then I went and seated it to Sammy spec, which was 2760, I think, 2.760. Because I need it to feed in magazines, all magazines. So I seated it to Sammy. I fired that round in the dirt. 0 pressure signs. You could even tell by recoil it wasn't hot. I added a grain, fired it. I added a grain, fired it.
Just manually finding pressure.
Yeah, which is not a great way to do it, but I have no other way to do it. So then everything was fine. Extraction, ejection, there's no marks whatsoever. But I was at what I thought max would be. So I said, screw it. So I think I ended up firing 3 shots with that gun. I might have only fired 1 tester, but I can't remember. But I think I loaded 19 rounds at that load. Went up to the range, bore-sighted the gun. I think I shot 9 shots. Those 9 shots went like 0.7 or 0.8. Adjusted the turret. I think I shot 1 shot. I'm going off memory here. Shot 1 shot and then just turned 90 degrees to 1055. Came up in the ballistic app what I thought the muzzle velocity would be. Had no clue. Just guessed at it. Shot 1 or 2 shots. Adjusted off of that and hit the plate like 4 or 5 times in a row at that. It took me 19 or I can't remember if it was 19 or 22 shots total to go from brand new gun to the gun is true to 1055. Then I hunted with that load. I'm still shooting that exact same load. That load has not shot a 10-round group over 0.92, and it has killed out to 970. And we've shot it with first-round impacts on 15-inch and smaller targets to 1,474 meters, not yards. So over 1,500 yards. I did the exact same thing because then it became, because people kept asking me how I do load dev. I did. So that's kind of why I did the thread. Because I also had a buddy that was thinking I was crazy that this would never work. And I'm like, dude, I've been doing this for 10 years. This is how I do load dev. So then I did the exact same thing with the gun. I just changed powder and I did Reloader 23 with the same bullet, same thing, same result. Then I did with 112 grain match burners, exact same process. And I used 2 different powders with that, same result. Then I did 108 ELDMs, same result. 106, I might have not passed the 10 or posted the 106 tap bullets because you can't get them. But a 106 Hornady bullet, same results. A 103 ELDX, same results. Like the largest that thing is shot for 10 rounds is 0.92 at 100. The smallest is sub 0.4. Well, so when you go, okay, it's a good barrel. So then in the thread, I took a 6.5 Sauer 100, their cheap rifle, the equivalent of a Tikka. Same exact process. Biggest group I've shot for 10 rounds is 1.2 with 2 different bullets, 4 different powders. Then I took a Sacco 300 Win Mag, did the exact same thing. A 223 did the exact same thing. 2 different 308s, exact same thing. So to your point, it becomes a good rifle is not picky. If it is finicky, one, I don't want it. And so what you get with like when you start checking like differences in real loads when you're shooting large group sizes is in order to see the difference between a 0.7 gun, say it's 0.7 for 10 rounds, I'm just using it as an example, and a 1.1, I got to shoot 30 rounds, 30 to 50 rounds. I can't do it with 5-round groups, can't do it with 10-round groups. The variability between each group's too much. If I shoot and that gun doesn't like that bullet or powder combination, if I walk out, because for me it's all based on it's got to shoot good, it's got to shoot to the point I need it to shoot to have the hit rate I want at distance, which goes into the WES calculator. And so in mountainous conditions, and we talked about this a bunch, if you're putting legitimately your extreme spreads are 1.5 or under, you are not missing in real world conditions on a deer because of precision of the gun. Now people hear
Say
that.
that one more time.
If your extreme spreads, so the difference, so let's take
this is group size extreme
group
spread,
size
not
extreme
velocity.
spread, not velocity. No. So if you, let's take a 6.5 PRC at 600 yards on a 12-inch plate, 147 grain ELDM, so a fantastic BC bullet. And let's say you have calm conditions, really calm conditions, which is you can call wind. It's a error rate of wind call. Really well-trained shooters in broken terrain, like y'all's picture here, is plus or minus 2 miles an hour. So 90% of the time, they're going to call the wind within 2 miles per hour. So they might call it at 10 and it's really 8, or they might call it at 10 and it's really 12, kind of thing, right? The difference in hit rate between 1.5 MOA and 1 MOA is less than 5%. Now people go, oh, that's 5%. It takes a lot of real shooting and variable conditions to see 5%. Mm-hmm. Anything less than 5% is a complete waste of your time. You can't see it. So I think when we did it on Rock Slide, I think it was like 3.8 or 4.8% between might have been 1.6 and 1 MOA. From 1 MOA to half MOA is less than 0.5%. Because we missed due to the largest source of error. The largest source of error is we suck. The next largest source of error is our gun didn't stay zeroed. The next largest source of error is we can't call the wind.
When you guys using that WES calculator, you put in a measurement for the kill box on whatever animal you're.
So you can put whatever size target.
Yeah.
Like 10-inch.
Yep. You put whatever size target you want, whatever range you want. You put in your exact load data, your atmospheric conditions, the standard deviation of your velocity, the precision of you like ranging. Like people think, oh, I got a rangefinder. I know the range to within a yard. Like we've seen that. I can show that in real world, plus or minus 5 yards if you're using if you're using a laser rangefinder, if you've zeroed it. Because when you look in that reticle of that rangefinder, the laser isn't hitting the exact center. Like now you have the Revic, which I think is pre-calibrated. Mm-hmm. And then you have the SIG that you can adjust as the user to move the box. So the laser's inside the box, right? But the laser I used, the binos I used forever, the laser was actually at 6 o'clock on the circle in the very bottom. So if you ranged a target, you'd range under it every time if it was in broken terrain. So plus or minus 5 yards. So you can put all these in. You can put literally everything. You know the temperature I know the temperature to within 5 degrees. I know the temperature to within 1/10 of a degree. Humidity, you put in all of it. And the extreme spread you put in is based on a couple of different ways, but it's based on 95% probability. So a 30-shot group, 30-shot extreme spread group size. So when you put in, I got a half MOA rifle, I can say I've never seen a center fire gun that's a half MOA for 30 shots. I'm sure it exists. I've just not seen one.
How many exist have you seen one exist at 10 shots?
Yeah. So I have personally had 3 guns in everything I've ever shot that were legitimately on demand sub half minute for 10 rounds. That's out of probably 50 guns, including from the best barrel makers made. Now people will go, well, that's because you don't do load dev. Okay. Sure.
The thing on that, talking about your low dev and a 0.7 is I want to link it in this podcast because I put the Wes to it on the guy because he had very meticulous guy, I don't know the guy personally, but seems like meticulous shooter.
I put the Wes to it.
I put the Wes to it. He had a 0.8 gun, 5 shots, and he did it a couple times. And I believe this thread's like 2 or 3 years old, maybe even more. I believe he shot it back to back, 0.8, 5-shot groups. And I believe he was at 30-something rounds at that point. He went and shot another 100 rounds to get this magical 0.5. But I believe when I put in the parameters, I don't remember exact parameters on Wes, he went from like 94% to 93%. From a 0.8 to a 0.35.
Yeah.
But he had to spend 100 fucking rounds to get there.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, he better be able to call wind within a quarter mile an hour over broken terrain, because if not, that just totally shattered your hit rate.
So my point is we chase our tail a lot, and we don't actually do the things that matter, like getting out there. You got a 0.8 gun. Let's go shoot it in the wind and figure out what we really can do.
Well, we saw this. So it's a 0.8 gun, right? What happened when we took the 10 shooters and we just had them shoot a shot, break position, go back down to prone or on the sandbag, shoot a shot for 10 rounds and it'll grow? How many people were sub 2 MOA?
I think there's 2 of us, wasn't
There's
there?
2 of you. And 2 dudes that can shoot legitimate. It's not just shoot. They've been, you guys were specifically practiced and trained to be able to do that. Like you saying, I shoot a lot, I can shoot, is not the same thing. I've yet to see somebody be able to do that. There's a process to learn to build the position identical every single time to shoot. So you took these good dudes who could shoot 10 rounds into 1.1, 1.2, right? Half MOA 10-round guns are rare. Let's say they're 1 MOA shooters, their groups are. When you break position 10 times, and I'm not talking about, there's no time. You can take as much time to rebuild it. They're 2.5, 3 MOA shooters. That same exact gun that they just laid down and shot 10 rounds into 1 MOA, 1 inch, conveniently isn't perfectly centered over the aim point. As soon as we let the gun cool and they need to do 10 separate break-in builds into that same position, they're now 3 MOA shooters.
There was one that was 6.
There's one that was 6. There's some couple horrific ones. Well, and it goes in because of the Wes and because of that, like we were talking earlier, I can be as detailed as anybody, but when you see it enough, you start realizing like I'm tripping over $100 bills to pick up fractions of a penny, right? I'm not missing because my load would shoot a little bit better at 20 thousandths off versus 25 thousandths off. That's not why I'm missing an animal. I'm missing because I yanked the hell out of the trigger. I didn't build a correct position. I let the rear bag slip when it fired. Or the one that doesn't matter that nobody can affect, I can't call the wind to within 1/10 of a mile an hour. The best wind callers on earth in broken terrain are at the mid ranges, like 600, 700, 800 yards or plus or minus 2. The best ones. And if you're not shooting competitively and winning, and in those conditions and in the mountains constantly, you're not calling wind if there's any wind at all to within 2 miles an hour. Let me back up because everything can be taken as an absolute. The amount of people that can do that is extremely few. It's extremely few. And they specifically train to do that. So they go out of their way to constantly be practicing that. And I still hadn't seen it.
No absolutes, but it's close.
Well, everybody says they can do something until they step on the range, and then they can't do it, and they either stand there befuddled, I mean, you've seen this enough, or they make excuses for why it didn't happen.
I wanted to make, like I said, 5 o'clock, and we're at the 5 o'clock mark. But I want a few short and sweet ones, because you get 4 on, and sometimes they're 2.5 hours, and people gotta rewind, start again. You gotta take fucking notes and shit. I don't like fucking taking notes. That's clear. I want to talk about these real quick, because by the time this comes out,
Well, hold on, I got a question.
yeah.
What do you think about that, Jake?
As a shooter that only expects the best of rifles, in other words, they're not picky.
Yeah.
Doing load development in sub 20 rounds is easy enough. I think if you pick known quality components, it's like cooking. Mm-hmm. The better ingredients make the better food.
Yeah.
So if you pick a 6XC and you put Varget and a 105 hybrid in there, and you put it at the right length and distance off the lands, and it's pretty hard to mess up. There are some 6 Dasher loads, 6 BR loads. Like you said, Creedmoor takes 4350, and if it's a 147 ELDM, it's pretty hard to fuck up.
Yep.
I was 6 shots in on that 6UM, this latest one, the 16.5-inch barrel, and I already know it. I already know it's going to shoot.
Yeah, you already know it's going to shoot. So if you always use the best components in your ammo, and you always expect the most of your rifle, in other words, if it's picky, you kick it to the curb, then it's very easy to do load development, because technically you're not developing a load. You kind of
just proofing the gun and make sure it ain't broke.
Proofing the gun.
So the key to that, because people will hear that and be like, I could shoot 6 rounds and know my gun's going to shoot.
Yeah.
So 1, you can shoot.
Yep.
2, you have good components. And 3, the difference is because of your knowledge overall, you're seeing a pattern that happens in those first 6. And you also don't just stop there.
No.
I knew the XC was going to shoot in the first 3 rounds. They went sub 0.1. I'm like, oh, we're done.
Oh,
Yeah.
But I still fired a group to make sure, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not shooting 6, but it was funny because Nick walked over. Nick does load dev.
Yeah.
He walked over and he goes, oh, yeah, you're going to be fine. I mean, just looking at it one time, he's like, oh, that gun's going to be fine.
It's just like the Salmon proved.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you've shot enough brand new barrels, it doesn't matter what the cartridge is. If you've been through enough brand new barrels on rifles to see what it does right off the bat, then you kind of like it, you gotta you get a little movement movement in the crotch area. You're like, ah!
it wiggles a
It's
little.
a fucking hammer.
Well, it goes back to back when I was helping you load dev, that Christensen Arms, the guy that missed the elk that one time. I don't remember the dude's name, but it was a Christensen Arms carbon. The first trip out, I was like, oh, fuck this. And I thought to myself, we're going to need a new barrel.
Yeah.
But you wanted to play it out a little. But in the end, you had to put a new barrel on it.
Yeah.
You're like, this motherfucker, there's 3 together, and then there's 1 2.5 inches out. Like,
That ain't good.
That's
hard
also
to
why
fix.
we don't take, and it's not just because it's not just a Christensen thing. It's really, if a guy sends us a rifle for load development, it's either because it's a real nice rifle that he wants to spend and he wants it to be the best it can be, or it's because it's a big fucking turd and he can't get it to shoot. And then we say, yeah, we'll take it. And then I basically told you, yes, we're going to get it to shoot. So then when it doesn't, it all kind of falls on us. So that's why we don't do that no
And
more.
I'm not picking on Christian. They're not. There's no barrel that's immune to it. I mean, a barrel maker, they can all have a dud.
Yeah.
Oh, I've had one of what most people would consider the best barrel maker on the planet.
It can happen.
One of the only true turd of a barrels was theirs. They were fine with it. They made it right, but it wasn't. It shot like a hammer. It was actually one of the guns that shot sub half minute for 10. It just lasted 400 rounds, and I was missing inches of rifling at that point.
And there are some cartridges, when we talk about load development, that are notoriously easy to tune.
Correct.
There are notorious cartridges like 28 Nosler that's almost like a go no go. It either hits right off or it's a really bad one. You almost can't load develop a turd 28 Nosler. It's really difficult. 300 Normas tune really easy. The 6 BR shapes, all the Creedmoors. 308, 185
Juggernaut with fucking Varget.
all the new cartridges that are personified by Hornady, not
Yeah, the
pump 'em,
PRCs.
but their chambers are cut correctly. The
That's
same
'cause
respect.
they get to design the bullet and they get to design
Sammy.
the cartridge.
Yep.
And you're kind of making everything match together with a given length. And we, like we just learned from Horty on the podcast, they don't really do low development. They get to
Anymore, yeah.
design all the components.
Yeah. And well, the other piece to that is, okay, you get a gun and it goes from 2 MOA to half MOA with 5,000ths different in seating depth. Okay, it's a 300 nozzler. What do you do in 50 rounds when it's now your seating depth? Your distance from lands is different because you've worn the throat out.
Well, it's fucking picky. And at that
That
point,
Like
just
you
doesn't
said, you
screw
got to
that.
kick it.
It's buy a new barrel. Barrels, you do the math. That's the point like earlier that I was getting to. If I get something and it doesn't shoot the first bullet, I change bullet or powder, or I'll do both just to be sure. If it doesn't shoot the second combo, I get a new barrel.
no.
Because I'm going to spend more than $400 in components trying to get it to work, and I'll hate the thing when it's done.
And that's where low development also comes in, because a barrel may not be picky so much, but maybe the guy had to have the 188 Hammer Hunter because he's in California, and not that that's a difficult bullet to tune, but not every bullet powder combination agrees with every rifle. So we use low development to let a shooter shoot what they want to shoot.
Yeah.
That there's a gun writer that always has the term inherently accurate. What's your thoughts about? I mean,
Well, like
because you
I just
brought up
said,
the
those
PRC
cartridges-
stuff, but it's always right around the 308 or the fucking, I don't think it's 30.6, but like a 9mm. It's inherently accurate. Is that a true statement?
It's like a Honda Civic type of thing. There are hot rod, there are Ferraris, there are 454 blown 70 Camaros, and they're just, so you have the ones that are very dependable, very reliable, very middle of the road-ish. They're not high performance.
Easy to steal.
Yeah, those tend to be the easy buttons.
Well,
Like
it's
a
like
20 Nosler is fucking high performant. You could use the overbore calculation too, just to figure out how. Yeah. So if you stick in the middle of the road,
Things
it's
tend to be a little safer.
because people complain, right? There's this whole the Creedmoor was marketed and hyped 6.5 Creedmoor out of control. It really wasn't. Show me where all this marketing from Hornady came from. They put an ad in a magazine. You mean like every other company for every other cartridge? I was reading something the other day that over 95% of rifles reviewed online and for magazines are 6.5 Creedmoors. Is that because Hornady is giving free ammo? No. Is it because the manufacturer is they want to shoot 6.5 Creedmoor?
No.
It's because when you go to give it, it's your highest, it gives the best chance that gun is going to shoot well, because that cartridge designed with that chamber and that loading typically shoots well, because what you used to do with a custom barrel, custom chamber, reamer, all of it, what you used to have to do for a 260 Remington to get it to shoot well, that's a 6.5 Creedmoor
It's
from
all
the box.
done for you.
Yeah.
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 But you're right. If marketing worked, the 30 Nozzler would be awesome. You don't fucking hear the 30 Nozzler anymore.
Yeah, I mean, heck, all their stuff's kind of dying, isn't it?
Yeah.
28 Nozzler's hanging in there.
I think 7 PRC is really going to give 7 SOM and 28 Nosler a run for its money this next couple years.
Well, I mean, give Hornady the credit. They Sammied these little perfect little.
Well, they also do something that Nosler doesn't really do, and that's they actually supply ammo that you can buy.
Yeah.
Like when I go to any gun shop right now, before the guns were even available, you could buy 7 PRC. Like I saw my first box like before the guns were available.
They did a good job. We talked with it. Well, the marketing dude was on there. They basically sent out packages to different builders.
Yep.
He kind of had to be on his list. And I asked him, why didn't unknown musicians get a package? He's like, well, I didn't know about you guys. And we weren't.
Yeah.
Well, you don't hear a 26 Nozzler. You don't hear a 30 Nozzler. You don't hear a 33 Nozzler. You hear 300 PRC, 6.5 PRC, 7 PRC.
Yeah. There's a reason.
They're inherently accurate.
and to go back with a little bit on the load development is now we're validating at 650.
Yes.
If he thinks the load is doing well at 100,
Yep.
we don't just stop there. Always validate at distance, because that load can go to shit at distance.
So that's an interesting thing because that goes in. So my goal with when I do load development is, I've said it before, I would rather my ammo come 20 round to a box, 840 to the can, right? 1680 to the case.
Yeah.
I don't care about it. I will take a no kidding 1.5 MOA that I can just pull it out of the box versus a half MOA that I have to load. I don't care. But Because everybody asks, well, I don't chrono. Nope, I don't chrono anymore. Why? Because I got to true it anyways. Truing, what I've seen in the field, shooting like guns over and over and over again, is when I go out and I true it. So I use the drop with a scope that I know tracks correctly, adjusts correctly, at distance. There's no weirdness. If I take the velocity and I put that in the computer and then I try to make it match up, I spin there trying to spin my tails of figuring out why I'm 0.2 of a mil off at 900. So I just bypass that. The other thing that I have not seen, and people will argue this.
You also have enough knowledge to roughly guesstimate the velocity.
Oh, I just
that takes some skill.
Yeah, 100%, right? Like if you don't know, I mean, you can almost give me any cartridge and a bullet and a barrel length and I'm gonna be within 100 feet per second of it, right? And I don't mean that, I just shoot them enough, right? So, but if you don't know, having a good idea of your velocity is a good thing. I don't get overwhelmed. Like the large enough data set, it includes velocities too. So if you shoot 3 rounds and you're like, oh man, I'm at 2850 with SD of 2 or a standard DV or extreme spread of 9. No, shoot 30 rounds and find that number just gets nasty, right? The other thing, and I wanted to ask you about this, but I have yet to have a gun that shot, if it will hold 10 to 20 rounds in a certain group size at 100, it holds the same group size at 300, and it holds the same group size at 600. I have not personally had a gun that does legit 10 rounds into 0.8, turn into a 2 MOA gun at 600.
I think the difference is we're not shooting 10-shot groups during load dev normally through the custom rifles, and it's really it's almost it's almost like a 10-shot validation. We're doing it with 6 rounds. We're doing it with 3 rounds close and 3 rounds far.
Yeah.
Is that like if you say you shoot 650 or 600, and you said what is it? 10 rounds is 85%. What's the term?
Probability. Yeah.
Probability.
Give or take about 85%.
Can you shoot 3 or 5 at 650 and that percentage?
True it?
Yeah, that percentage like changes.
No, it's worse because you have more errors.
Statistically, it gets worse.
So and you see it, right? You can cheat, just like we just talked about.
Yeah.
Shoot more and learn what really happens without getting mired in the weeds of the small details that don't have an effect. But the more you know, the less it takes. Right. So I can get
or the more you're willing to accept because you know it doesn't have a huge effect on.
That's right. So and that's kind of goes in the same thing. So like I've shown this, right? I can take a gun that's never been shot and in 5 rounds, I can be hitting 12-inch plates at 400 and 500 yards on 6, 7, 8th round, right? There's no way you should be doing that. That's just I can look at it and be like, yeah, we're okay. But I'm also like, if I miss by 1/10 of a mil, I see the impact before it's hit. I can adjust and hold off really quick. My goal when I do all this is really to limit the amount of rounds I spend in getting the rifle ready to use. I don't want to spend 50 or 80 rounds trying to test it. I want to spend 10 and be done. And it takes a little bit more rounds in the very beginning. But that 20 rounds in the front end means you don't shoot the 50 rounds in the back end.
Let it out, Ryan.
Well, because I'm devil's advocate. When I started getting into shooting, I would shoot 3-round groups, and I got them around a 1/2 inch. I would go up to this place. They had a rock. It was 800 yards. It was a minute rock. And I always thought, if I hit that rock, I'm good to go. Not just once, usually shot it 3 or 4 times. And I'd go hunting. And out to a long ways, it never really failed me.
Yeah.
So was I just getting lucky?
No, probability.
I guess.
I mean, it's hard for us to accept that everything's a probability.
Right.
Right. So there is no 100%. There is 10 yards broadside bench rest gun. If you shoot 1 million of those shots, you're going to miss one of them. There's no 100%. And as soon as we accept that, then we can start looking at it in a functional manner. What's the probability of the shot? So, I mean, I've said this before because people talk about, oh, you think everybody should shoot 50-round groups. No, it's about knowing what the gun does. I have killed a significant amount of deer, probably 10 to 12, where the bullet that came out of the gun was the first one ever fired out of the gun that killed that deer. Because I was shooting deer at 30 or 40 yards, and I can bore sight a rifle to within about 1 inch at 50 yards. Now, am I telling you don't shoot your gun before you go kill a deer? No, it's just saying that if I'm shooting deer at 50 yards, who cares? Like,
there's a really wide margin
there's
of
a
error.
huge margin of error, right? So if you take a good gun, because you were shooting good guns, you weren't shooting like a Remington ADL from the 90s,
No.
right? So you're shooting a good gun, you shoot a couple of 3-shot groups, you can have a huge variability, and you think it's a 1/2-inch gun and it's really a 1.7-inch gun. Again, we're back to hit rates. It just doesn't matter, especially on an elk. I go to 800, I hit the rock a few times. Why do we miss? We suck. We don't have a 0. By you hitting the rock even a couple of times, I got a 0. So even if you're a quarter
still
MOA
suck,
or half MOA off
Pretty
in your
much.
elevation, okay, at 800, a half minute is 4 inches, give or take, right? It's right at 4 inches.
Right.
An elk is 30 inches from back to brisket.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, it's not me saying that giving an excuse for doing lackadaisical. It's the targets are really big. They're big game because they're big. So we get away with a lot. The issue becomes when you start shooting a lot, you start missing when you shouldn't have,
Yes.
right? And it might only be 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20 animals that you miss.
And if I'm be honest, in there was some misses. There was some especially fucking high misses. And at the time I wasn't really putting together, but it was definitely rear bag.
Or angle up and down.
It wasn't necessarily angle. It was definitely the back end. The gun was dropping. And like I think Form said it multiple times, if we miss, chances are we're missing high.
We shoot a lot of animals. We shoot a lot of animals in wind. Barring absolute rank beginners, I'm talking about people that just don't know how to shoot, which we try not to take hunting. Anybody that's just been practiced with us for a day, we don't miss wind calls. Like, it's super rare to miss wind, even in some really bad wind. When we miss, it's slightly higher, slightly low. And it's usually because we get an updraft or a downdraft we can't see, or they relax on the rear bag, or they got a slight flinch. And everything you do with stock design, basically with these guns, if you flinch, the rear end of the gun drops and your round goes high. That's why when you see misses, it used to be everybody missed high because they were subconsciously holding higher than they should have at mid-range, like when they're just using duplex reticles. But at long range, dudes are typically missing high, and that's why.
Are you drinking that fucking sparkling water
I
right
didn't want to
there?
drink any more energy, and they didn't have anything else, so I was trying to get it down. It's peach pear LaCroix.
Luke brought that shit in. Filled that damn fridge up. Yeah.
Guy's special. All right, we got to talk about these rings real quick.
Okay.
We have some new UM. What are these babies called? I don't even know.
They are the reincarnated rings. We're calling them premier rings. It's basically we took the hinge rings, we took the hinge away. They still have the same look. We're gonna do some serious drop testing on video tomorrow, and make sure they pass with flying colors before they hit the shelves.
And when will they be ready to sell?
Assuming good results this week, we'll be delivering end of October, and they are up for back order at the moment. Even though, like I said, they got to pass with flying colors before they hit the shelves, so we will know soon enough.
What's with all these Tikkas I see getting built around here?
You started this fucking trend, man. They're coming out of the woodworks. Oh, custom Tikka.
Hold on, Jake. I got to do this to you, bud.
Yeah.
One of the first podcasts I listened to, you said you would never do Tikka prefits.
We still haven't done one yet.
Okay.
We haven't done one yet. I'll say that, but we will. And that's, we've chambered enough barrels on Tikka.
Yeah.
Now my guys tell me basically headspace always ends up plus or minus a thou.
Yeah.
And that's good enough to do a prefit.
Yep.
So that's the reason why. So I would say that I didn't think that Tikka was made well enough for a guaranteed headspace.
I think you were doing the right thing anyways, till you know it is. Yeah.
Yeah, they've done enough now where they're very confident.
Yeah, well, I still buy this.
You got to listen to the machinists because they're picky as fuck, and
Well, it's on them anyways.
I ain't no gun plumber. I'll just get gunsmith barrels.
So
I
we'll
know
have
a guy. I fucking know a guy.
I'll post some video. We'll do some story videos and stuff tomorrow once we start shooting with those.
I like them. They're sexy. 4 ounces with the level.
4.5-ish ounces with the level. Yep, and they're fucking beefcake.
Form will do his due diligence on them.
Machine titanium recoil lugs now. It's a little bit of an upgrade there to make up for the hinge. The hinge rings, if you guys haven't, so I gave the go ahead on production because we drop tested my 33XC. Lo and behold, there were some issues. One issue with the hinge, one issue with the clamp. I had pushed for so many revisions, and I thought the hinge ring was going to make it, and I learned some very expensive lessons that won't be soon forgotten from that situation. So,
Matt, the first production piece that I saw, he's like, I'm sending these to forum.
yes, definitely.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
It made my heart warm.
Well, the Tikka rings have done phenomenal. In fact, now we're on Amazon. We just had our first sale on Amazon, which is pretty badass. I shouldn't have said that. Well, but you get a little bit better shipping on Amazon.
Yeah, and damn, it's like, how long is that going to last? Because it's got to be underneath the air gun, correct? Is that how that works?
It's gonna stay.
No, I don't mean for just us, but totally. It just seems like a fucking wordplay.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you know that?
It's working.
I've heard.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I saw a fucking muzzle brake one day. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Well,
crazy.
Amazon just wants more sales, I guess.
You guys got anything else?
I'm excited. I'm excited to test the rings. There's another ring set that we already have planned coming after these. More of a $130 price point. We're going to call them the core rings, but a slimmer, basic down, no kind of level ring.
We're either gonna be real happy tomorrow or kind of sad. Wah, wah, wah.
Well,
I think we're gonna be okay.
There's
I do know if anything were to happen, it's going to be an easy fix. It's not going to be redesign, bullshit, all this other crap. It's
a good looking ring. It's just it's much more simple.
Yeah, we got away from the 3-screw after we talked about the whole. You guys have a problem torquing three screws in a row. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, and they just keep loosening up. That's why we got rid of 3 screws at every position to the 2 screws. Mm-hmm. We kept the same screw size, so we added a lot of meat around all those areas. Reinforced the pivot point on the clamp. Mm-hmm. Like I said, titanium recoil lug. All the hardware is still anodized and that same level built in the base. They're pretty badass.
And I thought it interesting. It's 45 and 25?
45. Yep. Yeah. 25 on the top cap, 45 at the base. That's just to mimic the Tikka, and hopefully these same, it's the same screw, same diameter, same everything on the Tikka, so we're hoping it holds the same. But there's no rules for this shit. It's not like somebody gives you some scope ring manufacturing rules. You kind of, you make some, you test the torque, everything holds, and you go from there.
Yep. And they look good.
All of those torques are actually over the torque spec of the bolt.
I have a set I put on that Seiko, and Tanya was shooting, and she's like, fuck, I like where that level's at.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the level right in your left eye. I that's one of the reasons why we wanted to make some rings. So.
All right, we all done? We have a giveaway.
Oh, we do?
For a 5-star review.
Nice.
Really small print, so forgive my reading, but I think it's Bone FXR.
Nice.
It's a 5-star.
It's Bone Fixer.
Oh yeah.
Maybe he's some type of doctor.
Bone Fix. It's fucking tiny print. Bone FXR. I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure it's short for fixer.
Let us know. We need your shirt size, and
maybe he's like the tech that does the casts. The casts. Yeah.
I thought that was going to go another way, but
I was trying.
I kept it on the PC level. You guys were going straight for bone fucker.
This plays into what he wrote on the review.
Oh, okay.
It says it's small, so it says everything shooting. Everything shooting. He says great practical content with excellent insights into shooting, rifle building, reloading, maximizing performance, and cool gear. Every episode is gold.
Nice.
But this is the funny part. Only wish I could listen with the kids in the car.
That does kind of suck. We try to be on our best behavior.
You know what you guys could do is make 2 versions of the podcast. One's kid friendly with some beeps, and one not.
Dude, Luke,
yeah, exactly.
Luke just passed out when you said that because all the editing. He just fucking passed out in there.
Oh shit.
So anyway, send us your shirt size. Email us at marketing@shootthehunt.com.
Well, tell him he ain't getting no fucking shirt if he ain't following us on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
very important.
Everybody, we got to get to 1,000 listeners. So, sorry, 1,000 subscribers, and we're at like 520.
If you like the content, we're trying to make some money. We've dumped a lot of money into this Shoot the Hunt gig.
Yep.
Go follow us on Shoot the Hunt.
And we got to deal with form and shit. It's just you got to give us a break.
Yeah. Oh my god. All right.
Anyways, go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for listening.